You know that feeling, right? You find a new obsession, you dive in head first, learn everything there is to know, you get really good really fast. And then, poof, the spark is just gone. You drop it. If that sounds painfully familiar to you, then you're going to want to stick around for this. Oof, does this hit a little too close to home? I mean, that image of a room filled with the ghosts of past passions, the guitar you had to have, the sourdough starter, that online course you were so excited about, it's a real thing, but man, it usually comes with a pretty heavy dose of guilt. So we tend to label this behavior, don't we? But here's a wild thought. What if it's not a character flaw? What if dropping things quickly isn't a sign of weakness at all, but actually proof that you have an exceptionally high-functioning mind? That's the big question we're going to dig into. Okay, first, let's just name the feeling. We'll call it the quitter's dilemma. It's that constant tug of war going on inside your head, right, between your brain's desire to jump to the next new thing and this voice telling you that you should just stick with it. And these are the labels that get thrown around, sometimes by other people, but let's be honest, most of the time, they're the labels we stick on ourselves. You start to believe you're lazy or that you just can't commit. You carry around this quiet little shame that something's just wrong with you. But what if there isn't? So let's do a total 180 on this. Let's just flip the entire script for a minute and look at this whole thing not as some kind of weakness, but as a genuine superpower that's just been hiding in plain sight. This right here is the whole reframe. What everyone else calls a lack of focus is really your brain chasing essential stimulation. What looks like being undisciplined is actually your brain adapting to new information at incredible speed. And that's so-called shiny object syndrome? Nope. That's your mind's unstoppable drive to find and solve the next puzzle. To really get why this happens, we kind of have to pop the hood and see what's going on in the engine room, inside your brain. It really all boils down to one thing. It's nonstop hunger for a real challenge. And it all follows this cycle. It's so important to see this. First, you discover something new and complicated. Your brain lights up and goes into overdrive, mapping out the whole system, connecting the dots way faster than most people. But then, and this is the key, the second you figure it out, the second you see the underlying pattern, your interest just falls off a cliff. Why? Because the puzzle is solved. The challenge is gone. And here's the absolute heart of it. You're not driven by finishing things. You're not motivated by checking a box. Your brain is on what you could call a dopamine chase. It's addicted to the thrill of the hunt, the reward it gets from cracking a complex code. The boring, repetitive work of completing the task, well, the reward system for that just shuts right off. Now, this wiring leads to something really critical. For a mind like this, boredom isn't just boring. It's actually a uniquely uncomfortable, even painful state to be in. Yeah, we're not talking about the waiting in line at the post office kind of boredom. This is different. It's an intense, restless, almost physically agitating feeling of being understimulated. Your brain is a high-revving engine, and when it's stuck in neutral, it starts to rattle. So what happens when there's no interesting problem to solve? Your mind doesn't just go quiet. Oh no. It starts to create its own stimulation, its own noise, just to have something to do. And that's where things can get a little messy inside your own head. This internal static, it shows up in some pretty specific ways. That feeling of restlessness, this intense frustration for no good reason, or a mind that just will not stop overthinking and worrying about everything. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's your brain desperately trying to generate its own puzzles to solve. Okay, so we get it now. We understand the why behind all this. Now for the most important part. How do we stop fighting it? How do we start using this thing as the incredible asset it really is? I absolutely love this way of looking at it. Your mind isn't a broken down car. It's a Formula One engine. The problem is you've been trying to make it work with the operating system of a minivan. The moment you give it the right instructions, the right fuel, everything changes. And this is the core of that new operating system. You have to feed your brain what it's hungry for. Simple, repetitive, predictable tasks, they're like junk food, empty calories. They might keep you busy, but they're not nourishing. Big, complex problems, that's the protein. That's what builds strength. And let's be real, in today's world, this is a massive advantage. The ability to parachute into a new field and master it fast, to see patterns no one else does, to connect ideas from totally different worlds. That's not a flaw. That's the job description for an innovator, a consultant, an elite strategist. The person who comes in, solves the big, hairy problem, and then moves on to the next one.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. What could you actually build? What could you create or solve if you stopped apologizing for how your brain works? If you stopped fighting your own wiring and finally decided to work with it instead of against it?